So good morning, everyone, from my side. My name is Julia Fürst, and today I would firstly like to give you a brief overview of the services of NFDI4Health. I will structure the presentation along the FAIR data principles, findability, accessibility, interoperability, and reusability, and I will then also introduce our support offer. So let's start with findability. We offer two services that ensure findability, and the first one is our flagship service, the Health Study Hub, which is a central metadata repository for epidemiological studies, clinical research, and public health. And the Health Study Hub enables researchers and data holding organizations to publish metadata about their studies and make these studies easy to discover. I will not say more about this service because there will be an in-depth presentation by Johannes Dahms later on. The second service is the Local Data Hub, which allows individual institutions to manage their own metadata locally while remaining connected to the Health Study Hub. And the access rights for each metadata record in the Local Data Hub can be configured individually, which makes the research data management platform suitable both for internal and external use. We move on to accessibility. To facilitate data access, the NFDI4Health contributes to the German Portal for Medical Research Data, the FDPG, which serves as a central access point for researchers requesting routine data from member university hospitals. We also provide access to data sets from our own cohort collection, with additional data sets being added in the future. When direct data sharing is not possible, we offer alternative approaches. One example are synthetic data, which reproduce the statistical characteristics of real data sets without containing sensitive personal information. Another important service is anonymization, where our experts provide both legal and technical guidance to prepare data sets for secure sharing whenever possible. Now, interoperability can only be achieved by the use of common standards. And for this reason, the NFDI4Health has developed a metadata schema, which is based on established international standards, allowing studies from epidemiology, clinical research, and public health to be described consistently. And this metadata schema is also used in both the Health Study Hub and the Local Data Hub. We also integrate standardized terminologies such as MESH, the medical subject headings, or SNOMED-CT, ensuring that datasets and metadata use a common vocabulary. Finally, our harmonization strategy and the accompanying R package help researchers combine datasets from different sources while maintaining high data quality. High quality data are essential for successful data reuse. NFDI4Health therefore provides tools that assess the quality of both research data and metadata and identify ideas for improvement of said quality. For cases where data cannot be shared directly, we also support privacy-preserving analysis through services such as the Personal Health Train or Data Shield. These technologies allow analysis to be performed where the data are stored without transferring the underlying data sets. So the algorithm comes to the data, not the data to the algorithm. In addition to integration, another pillar of our offer are our support services. We offer extensive FAIR training courses on general research data management or on specific services of ours, practical guidelines such as the publication guidelines for the Health Study Hub, or white papers, for example, on record linkage. And lastly, a central help desk operated by our data steward team. And that brings me to the second part of my presentation, which will go into more detail about the help desk. So with the beginning of the second funding phase in October of last year, NFDI4Health have launched a fully functional help desk, which serves as a central point of contact for inquiries. Someone from without the NFDI4Health may not know the correct contact person within the consortium for a certain request, but our team knows. So we make sure that all requests that reach us are forwarded to the correct recipients. The team that we have trained for the help desk and the workflows that we have tested and now established allow for a fast and structured support. With the introduction of the help desk, our community did not need to submit multiple inquiries to different departments anymore because they weren't sure which was the correct department, or they just wanted to make sure that the request would reach us. So now one request can be submitted to the help desk, and we make sure that it always is forwarded to the correct person. The help desk and the software that we're using allows for great documentation of our support strategy, as we now have timestamps when tickets are created. It's easy to see who worked on the ticket, which steps were taken, and how many people were involved. So the help desk provides us with a transparent handling of any inquiries. What kind of support does the help desk offer to the community? So I've compiled a little list, which is by no means extensive, but I did want to give you a bit of an overview of what requests can be submitted to the help desk and what requests we already have received. So if someone wants to cooperate with the NFDI4Health, maybe they need help on writing a proposal or they're looking for a letter of intent, then this is a good request for the help desk. The same is true for people who would like to use the logo, because one of NFDI4Health's services appears on a list of repositories and they'd like a logo. These people can also reach out to the help desk. So any questions about NFDI4Health in general can be answered by the help desk team. Most requests that we receive, however, are about specific NFDI4Health services. So if a person would like to use a specific service, such as the local data hub, they contact the help desk for a first contact to get information on what technical requirements there are if they want to use the local data hub. Likewise, if a person has used services of NFDI4Health or is already familiar with a certain software but is not sure how to use it, if they need a tutorial or assistance on how to use the software, this is also a request that can be sent to the help desk. And lastly, general questions about research data management of personal health data. We can give recommendations for repositories to use, or can also give recommendations in terms of data storage. And we even have some legal experts that can answer legal questions when it comes to requirements when handling specific data. So the support we offer is provided by the data stewards, which work in every service of NFDI4Health. I have already introduced the services in the introduction. In here you see all of them, and each of the services is represented by at least one data steward in the help desk. So the help desk team consists of the data stewards, and they work with the requests that we are given. However, I'd like to point out that the support is not limited to the data stewards. The data stewards are the first level support, but we also provide a second level support in the form of experts within the consortium. So if a data steward is working on a ticket, they can decide to include further experts from the consortium that are then also reachable via the help desk. And NFDI4Health can also offer expertise that is not within our consortium, as we work with third-party experts. We are, for example, part of a cooperation of 10 NFDI consortia, and we collaborate in the Geochem Life Science Helpdesk cluster. So if a request reaches us that we see better suited within a different consortium, then after asking the sender of the request for permission, that request will be forwarded to a different consortium. Likewise, if one of the 9 consortia apart from us receives a request that they believe we have better expertise in, then they will forward us the ticket. So our support is not limited to the knowledge that we have within NFDI4Health. If you wanted to contact the help desk, then you can do so by two different ways. The first would be to write an email at helpdesk@nfdi4health.de, and the second version would be to go to our website, nfdi4health.de, and under the header help desk, you find a contact form which you can use to submit your request. What happens after you have submitted a request? So once a request is sent via email or the web form, it is sent to the help desk software where a ticket is created. An email in a help desk is then a ticket, and it gets a ticket ID and a tag, so what category does it belong to, and also a timestamp when it was submitted. And you, as the sender of the request, will then be notified that the ticket was created in the help desk and that your request was received. On our end, we're also notified that there's a ticket created, and then the coordination team, which I'm part of, will look at your ticket and decide which one of the data stewards' expertise the ticket falls into, and then the ticket will be assigned to a data steward, an agent that is now responsible for handling your request. Based on the complexity of the request, the data steward can then decide to either answer the ticket directly, or they can also decide to include experts from other consortia through the helpdesk cluster or experts within the consortium. And then you will get an update on the current status of your ticket, so you know that it's being worked on at all times, but that a final reply may take another day or two. Once the data steward has gathered all information needed to solve the ticket, a reply is sent to the customer. And after a certain consideration period, if no other email is sent, we consider the ticket resolved, we have found a solution, and the ticket can be closed. Now, what can users do to get the right assistance more quickly? I have provided two example tickets. One on the left, which is a bit more extensive, provides more information and also context for the request, while the one on the right gives little to no information. So, not very surprisingly, the first one can be resolved more quickly because it is very easy for the coordination team to see which category the ticket falls into. There's a lot of context given, so we know exactly who to give it to and what to offer to the person asking. In the second case, it's a little more tricky, as sometimes we have several people working on one service. One is taking care of technical issues, another one is doing customer service and supports the use of the service, so it may be different people. So in the second case, the agent will have to get into contact with the customer before they can send a final reply. So in general, the more information we have, the faster we can solve your inquiry to your satisfaction. I would like to quickly illustrate this. So in the best case scenario, an agent can answer the ticket directly. So there's one email sent to the customer. And if the ticket just was not very clear and the agent has a question for the customer, then the question needs to be sent to the customer. The customer needs to reply to the agent. And then the agent needs to reply to the customer again, which will lead to delays. Of course, there are very complex tickets where this will be the way we go about, but a lot of tickets can be solved within first contact if enough information is provided by the sender in the first request. So in terms of service hours, you can always reach the help desk. It is available at all times because you can always write an email or use the web form, but it is staffed from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. This is the time when people are actively working on your requests. After you have submitted a request, you will receive the first reply by an agent after the automated message you have received by the system within 16 working hours, so within 2 working days. Of course, sometimes tickets require us to act more quickly, and we have done so in the past, especially if it concerns troubleshooting for one of the services for a certain software. In that case, tickets are usually solved a lot more quickly than within 16 working hours, because sometimes there are emergencies, sometimes there are priorities, even though the two are not the same. And now, as a little conclusion, I'd like to present some numbers and images about the help desk. So as I said, in 2025, we had a pilot testing phase of the help desk where we just tested a few workflows before we fully launched it in the second phase. And we started in mid-April, which led to a surge in tickets in May. And then we had fewer tickets as services did not use it yet and it hadn't been advertised. So it was mostly internal. But we did have 149 tickets in 2025. And in this year, where the service is fully in action. We had 123 tickets until yesterday, which leads to a total of 272 tickets. We have had a surge of tickets in March and another one in June. And in July, it looks as if we didn't have as many tickets, but that is owed to the fact that we're still in July and there's still many days that have not been considered in this statistic. I've also brought a few time-based indicators, so some on the response time, which is the time when an agent was assigned the ticket and when they sent their first reply. And in 98% of the cases, the first reply was sent within the agreed 16 working hours. In the 2% of cases where that has not been achieved, we have identified bottlenecks and issues and have adjusted some workflows. So hopefully in the future, 100% of the tickets will have the first reply within 16 working hours. However, 45% of the tickets had the first reply within the same day of ticket creation. In terms of solution time, which measures the time from creation of a ticket to the closing of a ticket, more than 70% of the tickets could be resolved within 2 days. Some tickets could not, as they are more complex, or they concern a support which lasts several weeks or months even, but a vast majority of the tickets could be resolved within 2 days. And lastly, around 60% of the tickets could be answered with a first response. That means an agent only had to write one response and the customer was satisfied with the solution they received. Now, some of the top requests we've gotten are on the Health Study Hub. And once you hear the presentation by Johannes Dahms, you will know where this service is very popular because it's a very good service. Of course, all the other services are good as well, but it's taken us some time to move the troubleshooting from emails sent to individuals to using the help desk as a means of communication. So please take that into consideration when looking at these numbers. And also the data privacy legal questions have only been added to the help desk as in March of this year. And taking that into consideration, they have already received an incredible amount of tickets. So for your takeaway, the NFDI4Health Help Desk is here to help you. We are the central point of contact for all of your inquiries, and we'll make sure that your inquiry gets forwarded to the correct recipient. If you do send in a request, the more accurate it is, the faster we can provide you with a satisfactory solution. And as we're continuously working to improve the support we provide, we have already identified a few areas of improvement and are continuing to do so. So if you are one of the future users of the help desk, we'd be very happy for your feedback if you'd let us know how we did and how we could do better in the future. And with that, I conclude my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Julia, for this talk. I ask for user, perhaps some of you have already used the help desk for questions or comments. So perhaps if I don't see any question till now, I would like to comment on that. So we provide a service for health data. But in the context of the NFDI4Health, we are also interested in resolving research questions which might have different domains. So I've heard yesterday talk about the climate change and what that means for health and stuff like that. And that means because of our connection from our help desk also to the other consortia, we would be also able, if you have questions, how can I solve a research question where I do need other data as well? And we would be very interested in the NFDI to get example use cases, so-called Leuchttürme, to get also such use cases where we can support you to get access to different kind of data. We need to mention that in this context here, that we would be delighted to get more of these use cases and there the help desk would help to start you such a research together with the other consortia. So I look around. In the meantime, are there any questions, comments on the help desk? I think it was very self-explaining, Julia. Thank you very much for that. And I would propose then that we move on to the next presentation about um, the Health Study Hub.
Yeah, but we should mention that there has
Yeah.
been an extremely nice comment in the chat, and I
Yeah.
think it really reflects very well. And Julia, well done. Thank you so much.
Okay, Johannes.
Now I found the button to unmute myself. Sorry for the slight delay. Yeah, my name is Johannes Dams, and I'm quite happy to see so many familiar, I want to say faces, but it's rather names on a black screen. So nice of all of you being here. I will present the Health Study Hub really short. The Health Study Hub is one of our services of the service portfolio, and it has one clear mission. To make health study data reusable. As our research-facing reuse layer of NFDI4Health, it helps researchers to discover, understand, request, and reuse information about health studies without exposing sensitive patient-level data. The service follows the FAIR principles and supports data reuse within the legal, ethical, and technical boundaries. In practice, this means the Health Study Hub gives researchers orientation before any formal data access begins. What data exists, how can it be reused, and what steps are needed to request access. Germany is excellent in conducting health research. Every year, so many great projects start and conclude, and studies are carried out. But the question is, do we actually know how many are ongoing right now across Germany, in your own institute, or even in your own research group? And honestly, I don't know the exact number either. I have numbers for Germany, for institutions, for states, for federal states, and so on and so forth, but I'm not sure if it's the complete answer. And I spent my whole working day on that. So that's the underlying problem. Information about health studies is scattered across different websites, services, registries, publications. And sometimes it's not visible at all unless you already know where to look at. And for researchers, this makes it hard to know what data already exists. This can lead to duplicated work, slow down data discovery, and in the worst case, even result in another interventional trial that could have been avoided. On the other side, for data holders, it means that the data they collect, maintain, curate, protect, remains underused. The work is less visible, and available resources are not used effectively as it could be. And this is where the Health Study Hub comes in. We are trying to solve this issue by giving researchers one central hub for discovery and orientation. The Health Study Hub turns fragmented study information into connected, reusable metadata. It helps the researchers to understand what studies exist, what data has been collected, who is responsible for data, and how access can be requested. And to be clear, our core idea is to publish and connect metadata without ever interacting with sensitive patient-level data. And our portal, the Health Study Hub, is not just another registry. It's a reusable context layer for health research. Because just knowing that the data exists is only the first step. researchers really need to understand is the context, how the data was collected, where it's collected. And that's why we connect studies with the data sets, variable descriptions, collection methods, as described in SOPs, and the related research publications. And together, all these informations help research to decide whether existing data can be meaningful or be reused. And this is especially important in health research. In other domains, the data can be just downloaded, tested, discarded if it does not fit. And this may cost some time, but that's usually it, right? So no harm done. In health research, access is sadly or luckily much more complex. Researchers often need to write a reuse proposal, get ethics approval, data access committee review, legal checks before they can access the data. So if it turns out the data is not suitable after all, a lot of effort has been wasted. And the worst part of it, it's not only wasted by the requester, but also by everyone involved in the access process. Greetings to Marie on this side. That's why the Health Hub focus on context. We want researchers to understand existing data before the formal access begins, so that reuse requests are better informed, more realistic to be successful, and the process is more efficient. The typical user journey we want to support has roughly 4 steps. First, discovery. The researcher needs to find relevant information. Second, we would like to support comparison selection. Researchers need to identify which resources are the best candidates for reuse. And third, access orientation. They need to understand how access can be brokered and obtained. And finally, requesting access. And here, our job stops at the study hub. We do not do that anymore. We connect the user first to the Forschungsdatenportal Gesundheit, or if there's a study-specific service available, to that service, so that requests can be brokered there. In this way, we shift discovery from many scattered web searches to a structured research process. Availability and feasibility checks become much more faster, more transparent, and easier to document. Our platform supports roughly 3 persona groups or stakeholders. About the first group, I've talked quite a lot. Those are the researchers. We would like to help them find information and relevant information, understand it, select candidates, understanding access options, and prepare reuse requests. The second group is equally important, if not more important. Without their support and data submission, the portal would be rather empty. So we support data holders in making fairness and good scientific practice related tasks as simple as possible. Basically, we try to tell data holders, register your data, we help take care of the rest. And obviously, this support service is closely connected to our Helpdesk, which you just heard about by Julia. The third group is a more specialized type of data holder, also data owner, but their focus is not only on publishing information, but also understanding what is happening in the institute and across the research landscape. They want to see what studies have been conducted, which are ongoing, and what impact this research activity have created. So the Health Data Hub does not only allow the publication, but also act as a showcase for the research effort, or provide harmonized information that can be reused in institutional portals or into reporting systems. There's a lot of information we harmonize and aggregate. You do not have to do it again. So you're all expert on the European health data space, right? So it sounded a bit like it, doesn't it? So the question is, will the Health Data Hub be superseded by those developments? And the answer is no, quite the opposite. The European health data space creates the legal and technical right for secondary use of health data. And the Health Data Hub connects researchers and help researchers and data holders to get ready before the formal data access begins. So while the HDS sets the legal framework, the Health Data Hub provides the context researchers need to understand data within the infrastructure. And all of it right now, our service is operational, you can use it, you can request data, you find information, and the HDS will become active in a few years. So that will take some time. Our infrastructure is already there. The Health Data Hub is also more than a registry. It connects the reusable research assets across the different environments and make them easier to discover and understand and use. The key takeaway message is the EHDS makes reuse possible, whereas the Health Study Hub makes reuse findable, understandable, and actionable. As mentioned before, the Health Study Hub is not just a concept. It is available infrastructure and already in active use. We started in 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic by collecting information on COVID-19 related studies. Since then, the service has grown through NFDI4Health into a core service of the National Research Data Infrastructure and is deeply integrated into its landscape. We update the service roughly every 2 months with new features, improvements, and bug fixes. We have kept this cadence for the past couple of years. The service itself is operated in a high available secure operating environment, certified according to the BSI C5 certification. Further, we try to reduce our environmental impact through the use of our green IT infrastructure. And our direction is clear. We have moved from search and registration towards a sustainable infrastructure for discovery, publication, creation, and reuse. Today, our Health Study Hub includes many features, far too many to show all of them in detail in this short presentation. Examples include advanced search filtering, query builder, searchable search URLs, metadata and citation exports, DOI and versioning workflows, integration with ORCID, which is an identifier for persons, or RAW, which is an identifier for organizations. As said, our service is operational, and today the hub contains more than 50,000 records. Last year, we doubled our usage in numbers of registered usage and as visits. And based on our current KPIs, the forecast should suggest that we double these numbers again. So for us, this shows the service is not only available and we provide it, but it's actively used and valued by the community. So thank you all of you for using the Health Study Hub, for contributing to it, and for helping us make the service so successful. And as said, we have 50,000 records in our platform. And of course, not all of that data is entered manually into our platform. Metadata entry is laborsome, and honestly, it's annoying. Yeah. So we integrate information from existing resources, which are the clinical trials platform, the AKS platform, the WHO ICTRP platform, the EU platform, clinical trials, CETIS, and we are right now implementing process where we integrate data from the medical data models platform. We update those sources daily, transform, harmonize the metadata, and enrich them where it's useful, which means reformulation or minor semantic enrichments, and we harmonize and unify this information into our metadata model. So we have a unified data model. And obviously, you also can submit data through our user interfaces and APIs. And that brings me to a page where I invite all of you to use the Help Study Hub yourself. You can visit the website health-study-hub.de. You could scan the QR code, toy around, find information. We are happy about every visit, every contribution, every piece of feedback. On the website, on the right-hand side, there's a blue icon labeled feedback. You can just click on it and give us as much feedback as you like. We're also happy to integrate it into our development roadmap. Speaking of a roadmap, while our service is online, we are not completed yet. We're not there yet. And in many ways, our journey just started. We have many ideas for what could become next, and many of those ideas were actually suggested by our users again. And just would like to highlight some of those next steps we are working on. Right now, we would like to integrate more and connect more data sources so that Health Study Hub can provide even broader view on the health research. We currently focus on the UDA-CT platform. While it doesn't accept new submissions, there's a lot of historic value in this information. And if you have more ideas of data sources, drop us a line. We're happy to integrate them. We also want to support user-generated or AI-enriched information. While the enrichment or the user submission and addition of information is technically rather easy at sometimes, the real challenge is in showing it to the user with the right provenance information so you understand and trust the information we give to you. But that's something we are working on. Another important step we're working on is metadata normalization. Today, different imported resources often use different names and variants of the name for the same institution. For example, we have the Universitätsmedizin Göttingen, we have UMG, we have Göttingen, and many more varieties of this name. And that makes it really hard to search and explore information. So we would like to map those variants to unique identifiers, such the raw identifier. And we also plan to add dashboarding to our platform. So users can not only see what studies they found, but also directly view summary statistics about the results, which institutions could also use to understand their current and past research activities. And finally, we want to explore our knowledge graph more clearly. We have used graph-based structure for the last 5 years, but we haven't really solved this buzzword. But with the step of better normalization, we see some great potential for more graph-like representations that support information retrieval. And that will be much more than just wobbling graphs on a visualization. We have a great idea what's coming next, but stay tuned for that. It'll be available in the next year, most likely. And with that, I'd like to conclude my talk. If you have questions on how to use Study Hub, you can scan the QR code on the leftmost side. You can contact the help desk. You can subscribe to our newsletter to get information about what's going on in the project in our services. So we push updates and new releases to this news channel. We also have local social media like LinkedIn and YouTube, so you can subscribe there. And again, I haven't shown you the system live in this presentation, but you're of course invited to visit the platform yourself and toy around and send us any feedback you find and any bugs you find. And with that, thank you very much for your attention.